They have got to move past what the client knows about their own industry and really be able to be Sherpas for their clients and show them these are gaps that are out there. Never use it for full publishing. It's a tool. Always have human intervention and QA, because if you let that go, you're just peppering with spam out. I do believe the age of a major focus of technical SEO is waning away. Bounce rate is really something that really should have never been brought over to Google Analytics.
And now we can move forward with our questions. First of all, we will have a questions answer session with Erin, and I encourage you to put your questions in chat. We will cover them after the session. So I think that will give us much more things to discuss. But let's start with you mentioned hosting Edge of the Web over the years and interviewing many top SEO experts. And so looking back, what are a couple of some insights or lessons that changed the way you approached SEO?
Oh, certainly. Oh boy, that's a loaded question. So many great people that we've talked to, and Joy Hawkins was one of them for a couple of different interviews. So we've got a great panel of guests here. We've learned a lot. I want to give a couple hat tips to Cindy Crum. She's been on our show, and she's a regular on our show. She was discussing Fraggle's mobile first indexing and knowledge graph 2019, 2018, and it really did pivot us as an agency in learning what we really do need to do and influence Google. We also had Bill Slosky on, an incredible mind, focusing on the patents that Google was submitting over the years, over the decades. And it was amazing to be able to talk to him multiple times before his passing. Dixon Jones is also a sizable influence to our agency as we really jumped into his software Inlinks right at the onset of his development there, and really learned a lot from the interlinking methodology that's so necessary in SEO. We've done a lot with a lot of great interviews, but I am not going to be able to service well how many thought leaders have been able to be on the show and that we've learned from. But a smattering of some really good insights from those individuals. We spend a lot of time with our clients, and we also dive in and find areas of knowledge based on the knowledge graph concepts that we actually learned from Jason Bernard as well. So he was tantamount in having us understand and pivot us towards what the knowledge graph reflection is for a brand.
That's great, interesting. And speaking about some recent guests, you've just recalled a lot of interview from the previous. Thinking about recent guests and speaking about AI in SEO, have you heard that it was really surprising or really insightful for you? And do you see any similar ideas going on, like a consensus between all of the experts, or there are some big debates and totally different views on what's going on? Okay.
There's a number of stages in that question. I think one of the biggest insights that I've had here recently was with Michael King over at iPullRank. He's been great to come on multiple times. We joined him in SEO Week a couple weeks back, but he's really at the forefront of understanding AI and what is happening in how it's understanding and processing it. And he's really coining the term of relevance engineering. And that really rung my bell whenever we were talking. We were doing a bit of a promo for SEO Week back in, I think, mid-April. And it really did dawn on me, okay, all these pieces are coming together, all these different individuals having their different take on how Google's actually presenting its knowledge. And Michael really did pull everything together and show us that this is not keywords, this is not strings, it's things. And more importantly, how you have to map the relevance on your own site as well as external. It's a whole other dimension on things. He actually wrote a really, really great post here just recently about AI mode and how it works and what the future of SEO is. If your listeners or your viewers haven't come across that, go check that out. We're going to try and get him back on the show just to talk about that. It's a 58-minute read time article, so it is mammoth, but it really encapsulates a great deal of the new paradigm of understanding what AI is understanding about a brand and domain and how it also processes. It doesn't look at just website rankings. It's looking at a great deal of different relevant concepts and questions that are answered across a spectrum of different websites. And it's interesting to now see this science pivoting where it needed to be a very long time ago. And it started to grow there for the last 5 years. I think Brittany Muller is huge in the AI machine learning space, and she was ringing this bell a long time ago. I think the concept of AI and understanding of documentation has to be multidimensional. It has to be, we all have to now step into a larger concept of not only competitive science, but also subject matter knowledge. What is the completedness of a concept in a particular industry or a subpoint? And do we have a full map? And this is what marketing agencies have to understand. They've got to move past what the client knows about their own industry and really be able to be Sherpas for their clients and show them these are gaps that are out there. This is what we understand of the industry. We need to know more from you, client, about your industry, and be able to find their way towards areas that you can influence Google and be able to be that available subject matter expert. Kind of went along there, but I think one of the other debates that are still happening, and it's going to be sizable, is the zero-click scenario that we're talking about here. The loss of direct traffic as Google's providing more and more answers to its users without attribution or any type of destination URLs. That's the largest challenge in our industry. We've certainly talked about that before. And there's a lot of studies rolling out right now to be paying attention to. I think the biggest takeaway that I have as I'm interviewing and reading this documentation is that the user experience is changing, is that the search traffic that we had 2 or 3 years ago is not the same search traffic because of the AI factor. And users are changing their behavior based on the user experiences that they have. So we need to reach them as they're changing their pattern and their deeper dive into concepts.
That's a deep one. And that's actually can float us to the next question where I just wanted to ask, speaking about the research that you mentioned or the recent Google's I/O event or SEO week event where everyone is covering some developments or predictions on AI. Is there anything particular you think people should pay attention to? Because definitely we will not be able to cover all of the things. So maybe something to focus on right now.
No, I mean, in the freshest memory is literally the SEO week that we had. I mean, Google's I/O reveal and having AI mode now across the entire US was huge. They revealed like 26 different new concepts that they were rolling out. I would be able to give that due credit here on the show. But from SEO week, we were honored to be able to be there and live stream for iPullRank all 40 different speakers for 4 days. It was a fantastic experience. I knew a lot of these individuals. I still want to follow up and interview a few others that I hadn't come across. But the predominant factor was AI and how we navigate AI. And one of the most important factors for almost every presentation was the brand connection and what brand now means in the perspective of AI. And from an SEO standpoint, we've always been a little bit disjointed from how do you build brand? How do you create brand momentum? But we're in this space now where AI is paying attention to those factors, and we really need to get a hold of it. And teams need to come together to be able to create strategies that support SEO visibility, but also support brand. A couple of the presentations from that SEO week, one in particular was Will Reynolds. He was fantastic. He was really cutting to the chase here and kind of putting it to the SEO audience of just not writing content for content's sake. He much rather you write content that's very good quality and well thought through, as opposed to the glut of content that's burgeoning right now at the seams across the internet. And he really went even further and has showed the lack of correlation or the inverse correlation now of organic search to revenue. So it's not about traffic build, it's the right traffic. And yet we've heard that time and time again, but I really do think he brought it home in his presentation. We're in a new world. where you've got to meet your user to the degree of certitude that you've never had to before. AI is answering a lot of information, and perhaps that traffic really didn't need to come to your website. If you're talking about general answers on a particular web page that aren't really valuable for a user to be able to connect to your brand, why do we have it on these pages? And that's what Google's really doing. It's scooping up content and presenting answers, but it's still providing traffic to destination websites. It's just more nuanced. So we got to be able to have more nuanced content available for our users. And I think that's the shift of that I'm seeing from SEO. Along with it, Ross Simmons actually provided a bit of context when he unpacked Reddit. And just optimization and participation in the Reddit community. That's a huge brand plus subject matter authority play in that space. And now we know how important Reddit is into the entire search ecosystem. One strategy in particular that we really took away from that SEO week was, like, we got to dive into Reddit. We got to champion our clients in Reddit, and never just try to post information and back away from it. You have to engage. You have to engage with that community, and Google's paying attention to that brand engagement inside of these different forum communities. So those are some cool takeaways from that week out there.
Nice touch. And you've already covered a lot of important things, but let's just go to the dark side a bit. And is there anything like overhyped, like something that is everywhere, but you don't think it's worth attention?
Yeah, I think, and again, I harken back to all our conversations that we've had on the show, as well as conversations that we had here recently in New York. I think we are hyper reactive on the potential loss of organic traffic due to AI. I think we're missing the point that the user is getting trained in this new experience, and the user is going to amplify and adjust how they're interacting. So I think the benefit of AI kind of interceding into the destination URL relationship we had, it's refining the potential user, and now we can match even more clearly to the user's needs and wants. And if there's anything that I'm taking away from my years of interviewing plus my recent experiences with different conferences, I don't think we're going to have a problem with revenue or conversions. It does impact our organic traffic, but at the same time, we just need to be able to shift to another value point for our users that maybe we haven't done before. The flip side here is that AI is changing the behavior. It's forcing better content strategies, and there's a discipline that has to be embraced now. We're kind of getting forced into that. And EAT is obviously here. Key concepts around what you should be doing with your own content, showing your work, behind the scenes insights that only you would know, replacing generic claims with specific examples, exact data, specific cases, freshness, all of these things that we'd like to do that, but we were automating content or we were getting the information out there more quickly. You need to now pivot around and take the time. Just don't hit a particular quota of content. Build the right content for the right user and have that as kind of a layered effect on your website.
By the way, speaking about the changing behavior, how does that impact the edge of the web? Maybe you can just share some specific your experience and advice. How do you leverage that change of user behavior and the content that you have to produce?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, interesting enough is that we started building knowledge graph entities in our show site about 4 years ago. So everybody that we interview, we build a person page that is related to the show that they were on. So you start searching for Cindy Crum, you start searching for Jason Bernard, you start searching for Mike King or Garrett Sussman. You're seeing our knowledge graph page. It's actually getting pulled into knowledge graph. It's getting into the top link. So we now are trusted by Google as a valuable destination for that personality. So we started doing that about 4 years ago, and that's really paid off because now we're not only in an SEO podcast search query and permutations of that. If you're looking for a Garrett Sussman interview, you're going to find our show. And that was part of our strategy, is be able to put together, we've got 200, 300 different entities that are defined, and Google has really been giving us a good deal of value in that space. From an AI tool standpoint, we've done a lot of being able to streamline a lot of our production. Podcasting, we're doing about 2 shows a week here at The Edge. So we do our interview series, but we also do our news series. As best as possible, getting those 2 shows up. Using AI as a research tool has been invaluable, but you always have to check the facts, right? Making sure that you're always confirming what you're seeing in the AI tool, because of hallucinations, but it does streamline things. We are also producing a number of other podcasts for other clients that aren't in the marketing industry whatsoever. So we're helping them produce and streamline their execution. So we're doing about 5 shows a week here at the studio. But are you asking about maybe other AI tools that we use?
Maybe you can share that too, and maybe some immediate results with AI tools, some magic.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a couple cool tools that I want to reference, and we use them each and every week. One is Cast Magic. Cast Magic is a fantastic tool that processes your audio, and based on the prompts that are either kind of baseline prompts that it provides or your own custom prompts, you can actually create a wealth of content like social media posts, emails to be able to send back over to guests after confirmation that the site's been launched or the page has been launched, blog content, different clip finders. It'll deep dive into the entire audio piece and find key insight moments. Now, it's a great tool to be able to have all these pieces together. Human intervention has to be there, because a lot of times it's not really that valuable, but a lot of times it is, and it just helps streamline our content production, but also our social awareness. So we use that a lot of times in our content production. Another tool that's great from a video standpoint is Opus. Opus.io is a video snippet tool. So you can push the entire video piece that you've done on YouTube, move it into that, and it will do the same thing that Cast Magic's kind of doing, but it'll also create a series of scenes and put captions in a video snippet, give you a 30-second, minute aha moment kind of quick take. And you can also do a lot of production behind the scenes. So you can put music embeds, different intros and outros. So it does give you building blocks that you can then craft for your own brand, but it does certainly streamline the video production, especially the quick pieces that need to come out of a podcast, if you're doing the video side of things as well. Some cool tools there. There's a lot of other cool tools that are out there, but those are the 2 that I wanted to bring to bear here.
Nice. That's a pretty full list too. So I think that would be valuable for our guests to check them out. Okay.
Just remember, before anything else, never use it for full publishing. It's a tool. Always have human intervention and QA, because if you let that go and just crank out content, you're just peppering with spam out there. You've got to find the choice pieces that are really aligned to what you're doing. So you still have to have that context of what we talked about, why it's relevant, and be able to have that production tool there. Sorry, just want to make sure I qualify.
Sure. That. Yeah, definitely. That's a good remark. Well, we've spoken about podcasts. Now let's speak about your agency and how you promote your brand, and how can SEOs right now keep track of brand visibility in AI-driven search results,
Sure.
as we know that people find information different in AI search. So how brands can ensure their visibility even.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, if you ever listen to the show, I love tools. I love to dive into tools, test tools out. I'm a tool hoarder. Probably shouldn't have as many tools as we have at the agency, but we always love to create a picture of consensus from these different tools and how it analyzes domain, how it analyzes page structure, technical SEO, as well as inbound. So your own shop, SE Ranking, has a fantastic AI tool, tracking tool that really was one of the first ones out of the market, into the market around 2023. And we actually reported on that a while back. And it's continually evolving, being able to show us a lot of insights into AI visibility performance. One in particular that I've come across, this is from Dixon Jones. It's from the Inlinks group. Just to understand how AI understands you and your brand. It's called Waikai, WAIKAY.io. It's a brand new tool. I think it's about 3 or 4 months old. And it actually is doing something unique that I've not seen them in the marketplace. It actually pulls your brand and your brand connection to a particular concept against 4 different AI platforms. It goes against Perplexity, ChatGPT, Google Gemini, as well as Claude. It gives you an analysis of how much it understands about your brand and what it thinks it knows about your subpoint or your entity information. So it's not just about who you are, but what you do, right? And then you can actually run it against your competitors, about 2 different competitors, and then you can start seeing topical gaps, major gaps as well as mentionable gaps, and you can start building a content strategy that is AI based as it's polling these different platforms, and it can actually run each and every month. You've got a scorecard that can go up or down based on what you're doing. But it's the first time I've seen a tool out there that's querying to the platforms themselves, and we're getting back real data. Granted, Waikai has its own type of scorecard that is for their platform, but it does give us a really good mirror or a reflection from the AI tool sets in a consensus standpoint. So you can really find some major gaps that you need to invest in, because if the AI doesn't understand you or hasn't seen an area of content, you really need to reinforce that with your website, as well as any type of external references. So we've used those. We've started using Waikai here over the last 3 months, but from an AI tool set, we've tried to stay away from any type of AI publishing, right? Any type of content writing. We'll use it for some content brief analysis, but we really tried to stop it there, clean up anything that we think is not oriented towards our clients' mission or value statements or their subject matter knowledge. But we do use it with regularity inside the agency. Has some good results, actually, with utilizing AI in those type of content brief executions.
Nice. Very, very good. Mm-hmm. Very good idea, actually. And my next question was just around the content strategies. What would you recommend adapting the content strategies for AI-generated answers? Because this is the thing that everyone is going to dive deeper.
Yeah, I'm going to throw back to Mike King's article, what he just rolled out there about how AI mode works. It had some revealing insights into how we need to adjust and match how AI mode now processes and presents information. There's multiple queries. They have this, what's called a fan out query. So it's actually looking at not only multiple sites, but multiple queries, obviously retrieving relevant passages, not just pages from across the web. It's also using very specialized models, summarizer, comparer, and validator. It's also doing a lot of personalization based on the user context and history. So there's a lot of things that you cannot address, but there's a lot that you can address. And I think one of the biggest factors that we as marketers have to embrace is the multimodal answer. Okay. And if you've known us for a while, we've been in the omni-channel push, making sure that we're in audio, we're in content, textual content, we've got video content. That needs to be the mission for all brands that want to have that digital presence, because Google understands your entity as a kind of a mosaic, right? A model of digital factors that encompass all of those different channels. So it's bringing your brand into focus as you invest in those different channels, those different pieces of modality there. And we're seeing that AI mode is responding just that way. So based on the query, based on the question, they actually may push a number of videos before anything else. So you've got to be there in those spaces. So I think making sure that every brand that either you represent or your own brand is investing in as much as you can into these different lanes of digital consumption, these modalities, I think it's going to be a strong insurance that you'll weather any type of organic drop off. You're going to be there as an answerable brand, and the consumer sees you in those queries. So you're having an incredible brand touch. Even if you don't get the immediate traffic, you're imprinting on that user, and the user will find you in a number of nuanced long tail searches.
Interesting. Yeah, and we've covered a lot about content, but I want to jump into technical SEO a bit, as we don't have much time. We can talk content for the whole evening and still not cover that, but technical SEO is also important. And what do you think about the ways we can support a technical SEO with AI? Do you think we should automate something, or there is still a lot of hands-on work to do?
I'm a bit of a purist when it comes down to technical SEO. I don't believe AI is in a position to give really good strategic advice when it comes down to technical SEO aspects. We do use a lot of tools, like I said before, to get a general consensus. We use SE ranking, and as well as a number of different kind of lenses on the patient, so to speak, so we can see what's happening with the website and what are some of the impediments that you have there. I do believe the age of a major focus of technical SEO is waning away. Is that with the CMSs that are there, you can certainly have some problems, but I do believe that Google's not paying attention to technical nearly as much as it was doing a decade ago. So you have to weigh out the factor of how much time and effort do you put into, for example, Core Web Vitals. That was a bit of a red herring, and we know that was. We were looking at that for 3 years, going, okay, got to move fast, got to get these pages. From a user experience standpoint, that's fantastic, and it should still be there. But from a technical SEO standpoint, that wasn't really the valuable effort that we all put into it. And we kind of learned that Google was benefiting greatly from everybody speeding up their own website because of their crawl data and how expensive it is to actually preen through these websites. So, the fact of the matter is, pay attention to the user and the user experience. If there is something impeding them, if the user can't find what they're looking for, right, with a technical issue, then absolutely address it. But some of the underpinning things that we used to really pay strong attention to, I think, aren't nearly as valuable as they were.
Thank you. Thank you very much for covering this. And just one more question to wrap up, and then we will move to our comments and Q&A.
Sure.
So if you could choose one top advice for SEOs trying to navigate the rise of AI, what would it be?
Harken back to Will Reynolds' presentation. Don't make content for content's sake, right? Make it good and take your time actually doing the glut of content that's out there, especially the AI and spam. We've got a lot of homogenized content that is not specialized. Take your time with your client, learn more than ever before what makes them special, and learn the industry, because what you're going to find is Google rewarding you for filling in some of the gaps that it needs to know. So it's not about speed of content. It's really about getting even more valuable content on your sitemap, but also understand that you've got layers that you need to actually move through on your website. And sometimes you should actually gate some of the more specialized content, because we're looking at this environment. You just can't give away everything. You need to have a much better user experience and build that user loyalty and give them information. Just don't give it away to Google.
Right.
I'm sure I'll get a bit of flack from that, but we're in this space where Google's wanting to answer everything. They're in the business of not just indexing websites, but indexing answers. And now you've got to start with your clients or your own site, making sure that some of that is protected, because that's what's going to be valuable for your users checking out your own brand.
Yeah. Awesome. Final for our discussion. And now let's move to our comments. Are you ready to have some Q&A from our guests?
Go right ahead.
So first of all, if we visually redesign our entire site with minimal copy changes, will this affect our SEO rankings via Google, thinking these are brand new pages?
Well, we do know that Google has been paying attention to user experience from the leaked DOJ documents back last year, and that the Chrome data is quite valuable for Google's understanding of how users are diving into your website. So a overhaul from the user experience is a ranking signal. We know that it is, as long as the users are benefiting from it, right? So hopefully that answers the question, but I don't believe that you'd be persuading Google that this is a new page, especially if the content's predominantly the same. It's just going to be a better user experience.
Which is the good thing from both views, from the user point of view and from the Google's one. So yeah, thank you very much for covering. Next one, SEO and digital ads. I would love to hear some tips on making those work best together.
SEO and digital ads, I need a little bit more specificity on the digital ad side of things. I'll take a stab at it. If we're talking paid, search ads themselves, or going through Google Ads, both SEO and SEM traffic benefit from a better user experience. In fact, we're doing a test right now with one of our clients where we're doing multiple landing pages and multiple changes to their prime domain and borrowing from examples and tests on the landing pages and infusing that into the user experience on the organic side of things. So a user experience change has to be monitored. It has to be tested, right? Mm-hmm. But we do have a lot of opportunity with SEM that gives us the ability to pivot quickly, test, and then influence the prime site. So from a quality score standpoint, the better and better the user experience is, and the better and better you're matching the intent and the query of the user. That obviously influences your overall performance of the campaign. So you're killing two birds with one stone, is making sure that you're testing that usability, using that what lessons are learned, and start transitioning your overall site to a better and better user experience. And ultimately, you also have better and better conversion rates on the traffic that you're paying for as well.
See, user experience is always the key. So
yeah, it really is. It really is.
So next one, how do you think all updates launched and announced during Google I/O will shift, change, and reshape the internet? You've already covered some of these, but people are really worried about Google I/O part. So
yeah, and the announcements that they had. Boy, I wish I could answer that in one big bow. I do think if you back up a little bit and you hear what they said on a number of different fronts, this is one of the biggest at Google I/O kind of cornucopia of announcements that they had revealed. I can't recall in recent history how something this large was actually delivered, except for that one guy that was doing some weird rapping on the stage a year ago. Anyway, regardless of that, it is very important to pay attention, but also listen to the wording of their announcements, because they do preen through this from a PR standpoint. Don't imagine things that aren't there. Right? Don't infer certain things that are not in these announcements, because they position themselves with a particular level of protection that they're not making resolute changes. However, during the same I/O broadcast of different topics that they were pushing forward, they also changed a number of their documentation points around AI content generation. So pay attention to those documents explicitly. In fact, I was just having a conversation with a client last week about these pivotal changes here. So pay attention to their overall documentation, not so much the announcements. However, as we're seeing VO come through and the type of video AI generation that's happening right now, it's frightening to see how realistic these videos are here. We're going to have to navigate this with the trust in the consumer that they'll also know AI from reality. And I think the biggest pivotal moment is whenever you're moving any type of content, bring as much authentic knowledge into these points of generation as possible to kind of counteract the AI generation that's happening there. I went into a rabbit hole there, but I wish I had a better answer here. We just have to see how everything plays out.
No, it's all good. I think that was pretty philosophical approach to the Google rollout. Yeah. So we all needed to hear that too. So thanks very much for sharing.
You're more than welcome.
And another one. With AI answering more questions in search, are metrics like time on site or bounce rate still useful?
I don't think so. I think dwell time still is valuable, but we also are dealing with microseconds of engagement, and user experience here. So bounce rate is really something that really should have never been brought over to Google Analytics 4 because it has such a misnomer there. But I do think multi-visit touches of a particular user are more important factors than the initial session. Because if you think about it, if they're seeing you in AIO more often, the brand's being imprinted, and you'll have numerous visits, not just from organic search, but also from paid traffic or social traffic or what have you. So that individual user is getting influenced by the AIO visibility of your brand. So take it as a value prop, not a detraction from your organic search.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Erin. And I think that was our last question.
Fantastic.
Because we are, short of time, but thanks very much. That was really insightful. And I believe me and all the guests here will share the one opinion. You've helped us be more confident and more philosophical about the upcoming changes from Google and from AI search in general. So thanks very much for sharing those.
Hey, you're more than welcome. Hey, we're all in it together. We're going to be surfing this thing for
Definitely.
a good number of years, right? Thanks so much for having me on. Appreciate it.
Thank you for joining. Thank you.